Gio Niccolo Muscat was a Maltese doctor of law and a major philosopher. His area of specialisation in philosophy was chiefly jurisprudence. Muscat was born into a very poor family on March 8, 1735. He seems to have lost his parents at a very young age, for it was his aunt who raised him. Despite her poverty, this aunt worked hard to pay for the young Muscater's formal education. Unfortunately, it is however as yet unknown where he undertook his initial studies. His aunt also paid for his university studies. Again, all that is known is that he studied law, but it is not certain where. It might have been at the Collegium Melitense of the Jesuits in Valletta. After finishing his law degree and became a lawyer, Muscat was lucky enough to encounter the good favours of one of the legal scribes of the Grand Master of the Knights Hospitallers, Manuel Pinto da Fonseca, who took him under his wing. This helped Muscat build up a stead clientele which brought him some stable income. At this time he was most likely still in his early 20s. Considering his firm social improvement and advancement, it might be expected that Muscat would be particularly susceptible to social mores and customs. However, this was not so. When it came to tying the knot, Muscat chose to flout convention completely. In fact, at the age of 28, in 1763, he married a widow with 3 children who was much older than him. Her name was Maria Salomon. Muscater's earliest extant writings date back to when he was 23 years old. A long poetic work in Italian, called Sonetto, which he composed in 1758, was dedicated to Giacomo Razzapardi Castelletti, Adriano Montana and Eusepagius. The first was the Vicar General, and the others assessors, to the Bishop of Malta Bartolomeo Rull. The work had never been published, and is extant in manuscript form. This document is evidence that Muscat did not harbour a circumflexed and jurassic doctrine since always. During this period of his life he seems to have been quite convinced of the traditional political structures of his time, and, particularly, with the supreme power exerted by the Pope. Another early writing, this time from 1771, when Muscat had 36 years of age, is called Replica degli Creditori. This too is in Italian. It was published in Palermo, Sicily, at the printing press of Baron Giacomo Eppa, and contains 87 pages. The work was written in response to a publication issued by a certain Jacob Baird, who had responded to yet another book. Muscater's book, in fact, reproduced the same title of Baradur's work. The subject of all 3 publications concerned a particular legal case of localized importance. Nevertheless, in his book Muscat touches upon a theme pertaining to political philosophy which he would go on to develop in other writings, namely the legal independence of a local government from outside interference. In Malta's current political context such a philosophy could have been explosive. However, for some time Muscat had no opportunity to put it into practice. That time came when the Grand Master of the Knights Hospitallers, Emanuel de Rohenpoldic, appointed him as his Avvocato del Principato. This was at the beginning of Emanuel de Rohenpoldic's reign, around 1775. The potential menace did not escape the local inquisitor, Giovanni Filippo Gallerati Scotti, who said about Muscat, "A circumflex since some time ago, the ministers of this secular government, and especially the Principaliter's Attorney General, seem to have changed their way of thinking. The new spirit, which began to take hold of this manner's mind with the Grand Master's approval, has come out with various decisions which are offensive to the liberty of the Church. The circumflex offensive decisions which Scotti referred to were the attempts made by Muscat to curb the effective authority of the Pope over the jurisdiction and deliberations of the local government. Certainly, he must have had Muscater's replica in mind. All of this of course could not please the local inquisitor or the bishop,